Imagine stepping into a world where every move you make could be your last. A world where victory is rare and failure is the norm. These games don't just test your skill, they push you to the brink of your patience and perseverance. They demand more than quick reflexes. They require strategy, creativity, and an iron will. From pixel-perfect platformers to lightning-fast racers, these games are designed to break even the most seasoned gamers. Every level feels like a battle, and every boss fight feels like a war. Welcome to the channel. If you love exploring the toughest, most unforgiving games in gaming history, you're in the right place. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more epic gaming content. Let's get started. 70. The Lion King, 1994. The seemingly innocent Disney platformer became infamous for its punishing difficulty. Released for the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo, The Lion King's adorable visuals and memorable soundtrack hide some of the most frustrating level designs ever created. The infamous "Can't Wait to Be King" stage is a nightmare of precise jumps and instant death hazards, making it one of the toughest childhood gaming experiences. The game's lack of save points and unpredictable enemy patterns only add to its challenge. Even seasoned gamers found themselves stuck on levels for hours, creating a legacy of frustration that's still talked about today. Platforming requires absolute precision, and the limited live system means that one mistake can set you back significantly. The enemy AI is surprisingly aggressive, and the timing for many jumps and attacks requires near-perfect execution. As charming as it looks, this game is a beast in disguise. 69. F-Zero GX, 2003. F-Zero GX isn't just fast, it's blisteringly, impossibly fast. This GameCube classic is known for its insane speed, razor-sharp controls, and brutal AI. The game's story mode is notorious for its difficulty spikes, requiring perfection in both racing and strategy. With tight turns, unpredictable opponents, and a breakneck pace, mastering F-Zero GX feels like taming a hurricane. The game's unlockable content also demands near-perfect performance, making every victory feel like a hard-earned badge of honor. The sense of speed is unparalleled, and the smallest miscalculation can send you careening off the track. Mastering every vehicle's unique handling adds yet another layer of challenge. The difficulty ramps up quickly, and the AI opponents show no mercy. If you manage to conquer this game's toughest challenges, you've earned some serious bragging rights. 68. Hyper Light Drifter, 2016. This indie darling combines gorgeous pixel art with punishing gameplay. Hyper Light Drifter's combat requires perfect timing and positioning, while its mysterious world offers little hand-holding. Every encounter feels like life or death, and the game's haunting atmosphere makes each hard-fought victory even more satisfying. Exploration is equally treacherous, with hidden paths and deadly traps at every turn. The game's minimalist storytelling and cryptic clues add to the challenge, forcing players to piece together its narrative while battling overwhelming odds. Its intricate upgrade system and demanding boss fights ensure that every step forward feels like a triumph. The game's blend of fast-paced combat and intricate exploration keeps you constantly on edge, and the limited health system leaves no room for error. 67. MDK2. 2000 MDK2 is a quirky third-person shooter known for its creative gameplay and relentless difficulty. Each of the game's 3 playable characters has unique abilities, leading to varied and equally punishing the challenges. The game demands quick reflexes, puzzle-solving skills, and strategic thinking, often all at once. From high-speed action sequences to intricate platforming sections, MDK2 never lets up. Its humorous tone contrasts sharply with its brutal difficulty, creating a unique and unforgettable experience. The game's inventive design ensures that no 2 levels feel the same, keeping players constantly on their toes. The boss fights are especially brutal, requiring pattern recognition and flawless execution. Combine that with some tricky environmental puzzles, and you have a game that refuses to take it easy on anyone. 66. Bionic Commando series, 2009 to 2011. Capcom's Bionic Commando reboot series brought back the iconic grappling hook mechanic, but with a brutal twist. Mastering the swing-based movement requires precision and practice, while enemies hit hard and often. The unforgiving design made this series a love-it-or-hate-it experience. The game's vertical level design and lack of traditional jumping add to the challenge, forcing players to rely entirely on their grappling skills. Coupled with punishing boss battles and scarce resources, Bionic Commando remains one of the toughest action games of its era. The freedom of movement offered by the grappling hook is exhilarating, but demands absolute mastery. Miss one swing or misjudge your momentum, and you'll find yourself in serious trouble. The game's combat is just as tough, requiring sharp aim and quick thinking. 65. Radiant Silvergun, 1998. Treasure's Radiant Silvergun is a legendary shoot-'em-up that's as beautiful as it is difficult. The game features a unique weapon system and requires memorization of complex enemy patterns. Its intense boss fights and relentless action demand peak concentration and lightning-fast reflexes. Each weapon serves a specific purpose, and mastering their use is essential for survival. The game's scoring system also rewards risky play, pushing players to balance aggression with self-preservation. Radiant Silvergun's combination of strategy and skill makes it a standout in the genre. The game's stunning visual design and epic soundtrack only enhance the experience. The sheer number of enemies and projectiles on screen creates a bullet hell experience like no other. 64. Super Hexagon, 2012. Minimalist and maddeningly addictive, Super Hexagon distills gaming down to its purest form. Guiding a tiny triangle through ever-shrinking geometric shapes may sound simple, but the game's speed and precision demand perfect timing. Survival beyond a minute feels like a major accomplishment. The game's hypnotic music and shifting visuals add to the tension, creating an almost trance-like state of focus. With each failure leading to an instant restart, Super Hexagon becomes a test of both skill and endurance. Its minimalist design belies the sheer intensity of the experience, making every second count. The faster the shapes close in, the harder it gets, turning each attempt into a battle of nerves. 63. Rain World, 2017. Rain World is as unforgiving as the post-apocalyptic ecosystem it portrays. Playing as a fragile slug cat, you must navigate a hostile world filled with deadly predators and scarce resources. The game's brutal difficulty comes from its unpredictable AI and punishing survival mechanics. Weather patterns, environmental hazards, and limited supplies add to the tension, making every decision a matter of life and death. Rain World's unique ecosystem creates emergent gameplay, where no two encounters are ever the same. The game's stark beauty and intricate design make every survival a hard-earned victory. The predators are cunning and relentless, and the game's lack of guidance forces you to learn through trial and error. 62. Cruelty Squad, 2021. Bizarre, surreal, and absurdly difficult, Cruelty Squad is a first-person shooter unlike any other. Its grotesque visuals and dark humor masks a game of incredible depth and challenge. Mastering its unconventional mechanics and dealing with its brutal enemies requires creativity and patience. The game's open-ended level design encourages experimentation, while its punishing difficulty ensures that every misstep is costly. Cruelty Squad's uncompromising vision and unique aesthetic make it a polarizing but unforgettable experience. Its deep customization options and varied approaches to combat add layers of strategy to the chaos. The sheer weirdness of the game's world only adds to the difficulty as you try to make sense of its bizarre rules. 61. Thunder Force Foresight, 1992. This Sega Genesis classic is a staple of the shmup genre. Thunder Force 4 combines stunning 16-bit visuals with relentless enemy waves and epic boss battles. Its difficulty lies in the sheer volume of projectiles on screen, demanding perfect maneuvering and sharp shooting. The game's weapon system and level variety keep the action fresh, while its high-speed stages push players to their limits. Thunder Force 4's combination of challenge and spectacle has earned it a place among the greatest shooters of all time. The sheer intensity of its later levels requires near superhuman reflexes. 60. Geometry Dash, 2013. Geometry Dash might seem simple on the surface, a rhythm-based platformer where you guide a square through an obstacle-filled world, but this game's difficulty is anything but basic. Released by Robert Topala, the game's one-button controls demand absolute precision and perfect timing. What makes Geometry Dash so brutally hard is its unforgiving design. One mistake and you're sent right back to the beginning. The game quickly becomes a test of memory, rhythm, and reaction time as you learn to anticipate every spike, saw blade, and moving platform. Add in the pulsating electronic soundtrack and increasingly complex levels, and you've got a game that's equal parts addictive and infuriating. The custom level feature also keeps the challenge alive, with players around the world creating their own impossible courses. For those who dare to take on the demon difficulty levels, only the most patient and persistent will ever see the end. Even if you manage to beat the main game, the endless supply of player-created levels ensures there's always a new nightmare waiting. It's a game where persistence and muscle memory are key, and every victory feels like an adrenaline-fueled triumph. 59. Shinobi 2002. Shinobi's 2002 installment for the PlayStation 2 revived the classic ninja action series with blistering speed and insane difficulty. As Hatsuma, the game's katana-wielding protagonist, you're tasked with slicing through waves of enemies while managing the relentless need to keep your cursed sword fed with their souls. Fail to kill enemies quickly enough, and the sword starts draining your own life force, adding a layer of constant urgency to every encounter. The game's punishing mechanics and aggressive enemies demand quick reflexes and strategic thinking, while the platforming sections require near-perfect precision. Every fight becomes a delicate dance of attack and evasion, and the brutal boss battles push your skills to the limit. It's a brutal test of skill where one wrong move can lead to instant death. The game's stylish visuals and fast-paced combat make every victory feel well-earned, while the steep learning curve ensures only the most dedicated players will see the credits roll. Shinobi is a game where timing, precision, and patience are the only keys to survival, and mastering its mechanics is a journey of relentless trial and error. 58. Gradius 1985. A staple of the shoot-'em-up genre, Gradius set the standard for tough-as-nails space shooters. Konami's arcade classic is known for its innovative power-up system and relentless waves of enemies. The game's signature option drones give you extra firepower, but the challenge lies in keeping them while avoiding a barrage of bullets. One slip-up can cost you all your hard-earned upgrades, often leaving you too underpowered to recover. Once you lose a life, your power-ups vanish, often leaving you too weak to survive the onslaught. It's a game of skill, memorization, and perfect execution. Mastering Gradius requires not only lightning-fast reflexes, but also a deep understanding of enemy patterns and level layouts. The game's escalating difficulty and unforgiving checkpoint system ensure that every victory feels hard-won, making it one of the most iconic and challenging games of its era. Every level ramps up the intensity, requiring a balance of aggression and caution, and only the most seasoned players can hope to conquer its final stages. 57. VV 2010 VV stands out with its minimalist graphics and unique gravity flipping mechanic, but don't let its simple appearance fool you. This game is a nightmare of precision platforming. Developed by Terry Kavanagh, VV tasks players with navigating a series of spike-filled levels where gravity is your only tool. Every screen presents a new challenge, requiring perfect timing and split-second decisions. The game's difficulty is amplified by its tight controls and unforgiving design, where one mistake means starting the section over again. The game's retro aesthetic and chiptune soundtrack add charm, but the relentless difficulty ensures that only the most determined players will reach the end. Even the optional trinkets scattered throughout the game require superhuman levels of skill to collect, making 100% completion a badge of honor. Every level feels like a fresh test of patience and precision, and the sense of accomplishment from overcoming its toughest sections is unparalleled. 56. Devil May Cry 3. Dante's Awakening 2005. Devil May Cry 3 is not just a fan favorite, it's also one of the toughest entries in the hack-and-slash genre. The game's stylish combat, intricate combo system, and punishing difficulty make it a true test of skill. Dante's Awakening demands not just fast reflexes, but also strategic thinking, as players juggle multiple weapons and fighting styles. The enemy AI is relentless, and the bosses require patience and pattern recognition. On higher difficulty settings, even basic encounters become life-or-death struggles. Every fight feels like a high-stakes dance of attack, dodge, and counter, and only those who master the game's deep mechanics will survive. The sense of satisfaction from mastering Dante's moves and taking down its toughest foes is unmatched. 55. Elliot Quest 2014. Inspired by Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link, Elliot Quest is a retro-style action RPG that blends exploration, platforming, and tough-as-nails combat. The game's open-ended world invites players to discover its secrets, but its lack of handholding can leave you lost and underprepared. The non-linear structure means you can easily wander into areas far beyond your current capabilities, making careful exploration essential. Boss battles are intense, requiring well-timed attacks and careful strategy, while the game's puzzles and hidden areas demand patience and keen observation. Elliot Quest's unique leveling system and multiple end endings add replayability, but only those willing to endure its unforgiving challenges will unlock its true potential. The game's deep sense of discovery and rewarding difficulty make every victory feel well earned. 54. Celeste, 2018. Celeste isn't just one of the hardest games of the past decade, it's also one of the most beautifully crafted and emotionally resonant. Developed by Maddie Makes Games, this indie platformer takes you on an unforgettable journey with Madeline, a young woman climbing the titular Celeste mountain while battling her own inner demons. But don't let its heartfelt story and pixel art charm fool you. Celeste's difficulty is legendary. The game's precise controls, challenging platforming, and ingenious level design make every screen a new trial. Death is frequent. Expect to die hundreds, if not thousands of times. But the game's quick respawns and tight mechanics keep frustration at bay. Celeste's B-sides and C-sides, optional ultra-hard remix levels, take the difficulty to the next level. With pixel-perfect jumps, mid-air dashes, and split-second timing, these stages demand absolute mastery of the game's mechanics. Yet every small victory feels incredibly rewarding, making Celeste a perfect blend of challenge and triumph. 53. Rogue Legacy, 2013. Rogue Legacy took the roguelike genre and gave it a unique twist. When you die, your descendants take up the mantle. This brilliant mechanic adds a layer of variety and unpredictability to every run, as each heir comes with their own quirks and abilities. The game's difficulty lies in its procedurally generated castle, filled with relentless enemies, deadly traps, and formidable bosses. Every death means starting over from scratch. But with a slight advantage, gold collected during each run can be used to upgrade your family's estate, strengthening future generations. What sets Rogue Legacy apart is its balance of frustration and progress. Even when you fail repeatedly, there's a sense of growth and learning. The ever-changing character traits, like colorblindness, vertigo, or gigantism, add both humor and challenge, keeping every attempt fresh and unpredictable. 52. Pathologic 2, 2019. Pathologic 2 isn't just a game, it's an experience. This open-world survival horror game from Ice Pick Lodge is notorious for its punishing mechanics, bleak atmosphere, and relentless difficulty. You play as Artemi Barak, a healer trying to save a plague-ridden town while managing your own survival. Every decision matters in Pathologic 2. Resources are scarce, time is limited, and the townsfolk's needs often conflict with your own survival. Hunger, exhaustion, infection, and injury are constant threats, and the game never holds your hand. The sheer difficulty lies in its harsh realism. You can't save everyone, and sacrifices are inevitable. Despite its brutality, Pathologic 2 is deeply immersive and philosophical. Its rich storytelling, eerie world building, and moral complexity make it one of the most unique and unforgettable games ever made. It's a game that demands patience and strategic thinking, and punishes those who act without caution. 51. Outrun, 1986. Outrun may look like a breezy arcade racing game, but beneath its colorful graphics and catchy soundtrack lies a demanding and unforgiving experience. Sega's classic driving game isn't about racing opponents, it's a battle against the clock. The game's branching paths and multiple endings give it incredible replayability, but the real challenge lies in mastering the controls. Sharp turns, traffic avoidance, and split-second decisions are essential to reach the finish line before time runs out. Outrun's sense of speed and fluidity were revolutionary at the time, and its difficulty still holds up today. One mistake can cost you precious seconds, and only those with perfect reflexes and route knowledge will see the game's true ending. 50. Sega Rally Championship, 1994. Sega Rally Championship isn't just a racing game, it's a masterclass in precision, control, and adaptability. This arcade classic became legendary for its realistic driving mechanics and its unforgiving time limits. With only a handful of tracks, the game demands absolute mastery from its players. Every race is a delicate balance between speed and control, and even a single misstep can send you spiraling out of contention. The real challenge lies in the game's groundbreaking terrain-responsive physics. Each surface, be it gravel, asphalt, or sand, affects your car's handling in completely different ways. Perfecting every turn, mastering gear shifts, and maximizing your speed is absolutely crucial if you want to beat the clock and cross the finish line in first place. It's a game where one tiny mistake can cost you everything, and only the most skilled drivers will ever taste victory. 49. Momodora, Reverie Under the Moonlight, 2016. Momodora, Reverie Under the Moonlight combines breathtaking pixel art with soul-crushing difficulty. This action platformer draws heavy inspiration from Metroidvania and Souls-like games, offering tight, responsive combat and sprawling, mysterious exploration. The game's intricate map design and hidden secrets keep you on your toes, while its merciless enemies test your combat skills at every turn. You play as Kaho, a priestess on a mission to save her cursed land, but the path ahead is anything but easy. The game's bosses are particularly brutal, requiring pattern recognition, lightning-fast reflexes, and perfect timing. Dodging enemy attacks with pinpoint accuracy and delivering well-timed counterstrikes are the only ways to survive. The atmosphere is hauntingly beautiful, the gameplay is intense, and every hard-earned victory feels like a true achievement that you'll remember long after the credits roll. 48. Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom 2018. Don't be fooled by its colorful cartoonish style. Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom is as tough as they come. This action-adventure game is a spiritual successor to the beloved Wonder Boy series, featuring challenging puzzles, tricky platforming, and some seriously tough-as-nails bosses. Its charming visuals hide a relentless difficulty curve that will test your patience and problem-solving abilities. The game's unique transformation mechanic adds an extra layer of complexity. Each form you take on has distinct abilities, and mastering when and how to switch between them is the key to progressing. You'll need to think on your feet, combining different powers to solve environmental puzzles and defeat powerful foes. The constant need for strategy and adaptability keeps you on your toes from start to finish, making this one of the most rewarding yet punishing adventures in modern gaming. 47. Ender Lilies, Quietus of the Nights 2021. Ender Lilies, Quietus of the Nights is a dark, atmospheric Metroidvania with a steep, unforgiving difficulty curve. You play as Lily, a young priestess who summons the spirits of fallen knights to aid her in battle. But even with their help, survival is no easy task. The game's somber tone and intricate world design create an immersive experience that's both beautiful and brutal. The game's stunning hand-drawn visuals and melancholic soundtrack create a stark contrast to its brutal combat. Bosses are relentless and demand patience, strategy, and impeccable timing. Dodging, perfecting your attacks, and knowing exactly when to strike are essential skills, because one wrong move can spell your swift end. Exploration is equally dangerous, with every new area presenting fresh challenges and tougher enemies. Ender Lilies is a game that punishes hesitation and rewards only the most determined players. 46. Mega Man 9 2008. Mega Man 9 brought back the classic NES-era difficulty with a vengeance. This throwback entry in the beloved series captures everything fans loved and feared about the original games. With its retro aesthetic and brutally precise gameplay, it's a love letter to the toughest platformers of the past. Precision platforming, tricky enemy patterns, and merciless bosses make this one of the hardest games in the entire franchise. With limited lives and scarce energy pickups, every mistake carries serious consequences. The game's levels are meticulously designed to challenge your timing and patience, and the boss fights demand near-perfect execution. Only the most dedicated and patient players will ever see the end credits, making Mega Man 9 a true badge of honor in the gaming community. 45. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! 1987. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! Is legendary for its perfect blend of reflex-based gameplay and sheer brutality. Each opponent has unique patterns and tells, and memorizing them is absolutely vital for survival. The game's learning curve is steep, but mastering it offers one of the most rewarding experiences in gaming history. But nothing compares to the final fight against Mike Tyson himself. His lightning-fast punches can knock you out in mere seconds, making this one of the most infamous and punishing boss battles in gaming history. Beating Tyson is a badge of honor among gamers, a feat that requires patience, precision, and nerves of steel. Silver Surfer 1990. Silver Surfer on the NES is infamous for its merciless difficulty. This side-scrolling shooter is packed with relentless enemies, impossibly tight spaces, and one-hit deaths. The game's unforgiving design has made it a cult favorite among players seeking an extreme challenge. Every stage demands pixel-perfect precision and split-second reactions. Combine that with limited continues, and you've got one of the hardest, and most frustrating by games of its entire era. Surviving even a single level feels like a monumental achievement, and only the most skilled and patient players will ever see the game's ending. 43. Spelunky, 2008. Spelunky revolutionized the roguelike genre with its randomly generated levels and unforgiving permadeath mechanics. Every single run is different, and danger lurks around every corner. The game's unique blend of exploration, strategy, and split-second decision-making creates an experience that's as addictive as it is punishing. The game's difficulty lies in its unpredictability. Traps, enemies, and environmental hazards can end your adventure in an instant. Only through careful planning, quick thinking, and relentless perseverance can you hope to survive and uncover the game's deepest secrets. Every death is a lesson, and only those who learn from their mistakes will succeed. 42. Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, 1986. Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels is the very definition of a tough sequel. Released in Japan as the true follow-up to the original game, it was deemed far too difficult for Western audiences. Its punishing design pushes the boundaries of what players expect from a Mario game. The game features punishing level design, unpredictable enemy placements, and hidden traps at every turn. Even seasoned Mario veterans will find themselves struggling to reach the end. It's a true test of platforming prowess, requiring precision, patience, and an iron will to complete. 41. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, 1989. The NES Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game is notorious for its brutal difficulty. With awkward controls, tough enemies, and unforgiving platforming sections, it's a challenge even for the most patient and skilled gamers. The infamous underwater dam level, with its tight time limit and deadly electric seaweed, has haunted players for decades. Completing this game requires not just skill, but a near-legendary level of patience and determination. Only those with the courage and perseverance to face its challenges will ever see the end. 40. Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link, 1987. Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link took a bold departure from the original game's top-down style, opting for a side-scrolling perspective and an RPG-like leveling system. And with that shift came an unexpected and relentless level of difficulty. The combat is brutal, with relentless enemies that require precise timing, perfect spacing, and razor-sharp reactions. The game's unforgiving experience system punishes every death by draining your hard-earned points, making progress feel like an uphill battle where every step forward can easily become 2 steps back. Then there's the game's infamous difficulty spike near the end. The Great Palace is a gauntlet of powerful foes and devious traps, and the final battle against Dark Link remains one of the most notorious boss fights in gaming history. The precision required to navigate the palace and defeat the boss leaves no room for error. You'll spend hours mastering every move only to face enemies that can end your run in seconds. The game's cryptic clues and lack of hand-holding only add to the challenge, forcing players to explore every inch of the world and figure things out through trial and error. If you manage to beat this game without losing your sanity, you've earned serious bragging rights. 39. Castlevania, 1986. Castlevania is a masterclass in old-school difficulty. This NES classic throws relentless enemies and tricky platforming at you from the very start, demanding pinpoint accuracy and perfect timing. Simon Belmont's stiff movement and limited jump control add an extra layer of challenge, making every mistake feel costly and every success feel like a hard-fought battle. The real test comes from the game's brutal boss fights. Dracula's castle is home to some of the toughest enemies in gaming history, and the final battle against Dracula himself is a true test of endurance and skill. Castlevania doesn't just demand patience, it demands perfection. Every level ramps up the intensity, and the margin for error becomes razor thin. You'll encounter relentless waves of Medusa heads, vicious axe knights, and deadly spike traps that require near perfect timing and positioning. Surviving this game requires near flawless execution and an iron will. 38. Pursuit Force, 2005. Difficulty level Justice Mode Pursuit Force might look like a straightforward action game, but don't let its fast-paced vehicular combat fool you. This game is merciless. You play as a cop taking down criminals in high-speed chases, jumping from car to car, and engaging in intense shootouts. But the game's unforgiving difficulty comes from its strict time limits, high damage rates, and near impossible enemy AI. One mistake, one poorly timed jump, or one missed shot can mean instant failure. The game requires split-second decision-making and lightning-fast reflexes, keeping your adrenaline pumping from start to finish. The high stakes and relentless pacing make every mission mission feel like a life or death struggle. Combine that with the game's harsh difficulty spikes and limited health recovery, and you've got a game that demands absolute perfection in both driving and combat. With every second counting against you, there's no room for hesitation. 37. Killzone Liberation, 2006. Difficulty level, Elite Killzone. Liberation is a top-down shooter that takes the franchise's signature intensity and cranks it up to 11. The game's isometric perspective adds a strategic element to its brutal combat, but the difficulty lies in its punishing enemy AI, limited resources, and unforgiving checkpoint system that leaves little margin for error. Every encounter feels like a life or death situation. Ammunition is scarce, health packs are few and far between, and enemies show no mercy. Killzone Liberation forces you to think on your feet and make every shot count, and even then, survival is never guaranteed. The game's difficulty escalates rapidly, making every victory a hard-fought triumph. The combination of tough enemy placements, overwhelming numbers, and unpredictable attack patterns keeps you constantly on edge. If you make it through this game, you've truly earned your stripes. 36. Ikaruga, 2001. Difficulty level, hard or prototype mode. Ikaruga isn't just a shoot 'em up, it's a bullet hell puzzle wrapped in a beautifully crafted aesthetic. Released in 2001 by Treasure, this game revolutionized the genre with its unique polarity mechanic. You can switch between two polarities, black and white, and absorb bullets of the same color while dealing double damage to enemies of the opposite polarity. Sounds simple? It's not. The screen fills with waves of projectiles, and you must constantly switch polarities while navigating intricate bullet patterns. Timing, memory, and perfect execution are essential. The game's brutal difficulty lies not just in avoiding bullets, but in mastering the balance between offense and defense. The levels are designed with meticulous care, requiring players to learn enemy attack patterns and strategically plan their polarity switches. Ikaruga's tight mechanics and demanding gameplay make it one of the hardest and most rewarding shooter games ever made. 35 Army Men, 1998. Army Men may look like a nostalgic toy-based strategy game, but don't let its playful exterior fool you. Released in 1998 by 3DO, Army Men is known for its punishing difficulty and unforgiving mission design. You control Sarge, a green plastic soldier, leading his troops against the evil Tan army. The game combines third-person shooting, tactical strategy, and resource management. What makes Army Men so hard? Limited health, scarce ammunition, and unpredictable enemy AI create an environment where every mistake counts. Missions often require perfect execution and an understanding of terrain and tactics. Some levels demand precise unit placement and impeccable timing, while others require you to balance offense and defense seamlessly. One wrong move and it's game over. It's this blend of nostalgia and high-stakes gameplay that's earned Army Men its spot on this list. 34. Hitman Codename 47, 2000. Difficulty level Expert. Before Agent 47 became a household name, he starred in one of the most challenging stealth games ever made. Hitman Codename 47, released in 2000 by IO Interactive, set the foundation for the series' complex and open-ended gameplay. But this first installment, it's notoriously unforgiving. The game offers no hand-holding, levels are intricate, objectives are vague, and enemies are relentless. You must plan every move meticulously. Disguises, weapons, and timing all play a crucial role. Each mission demands trial and error, with players needing to experiment with different approaches to find the most effective strategy. One mistake can alert guards and lead to immediate failure. Codename 47's steep learning curve and trial and error approach make it a tough but incredibly satisfying game for those who master its mechanics. 33. The Chronicles of Riddick, Assault on Dark Athena, 2009. The Chronicles of Riddick, Assault on Dark Athena is a masterclass in blending stealth, action, and survival horror. Released in 2009 by Starbreeze Studios, the game puts you in the role of the iconic anti-hero, Riddick. While the game received praise for its atmospheric storytelling and brutal hand-to-hand combat, it's the difficulty that stands out. Enemies are smart, supplies are limited, and the game's stealth mechanics demand patience and precision. You're often outnumbered and outgunned, forced to rely on shadows and strategy to survive. The game's environments are vast and complex, requiring exploration and a keen eye for hidden paths and supplies. Boss fights are relentless, and one wrong step can send you back to the start. It's this mix of challenge and immersion that makes Assault on Dark Athena a standout. 32. Command & Conquer, 1995. Real-time strategy games often test your multitasking and strategic thinking, but few do it as mercilessly as Command & Conquer. Released in 1995 by Westwood Studios, this game set the standard for the RTS genre, and its difficulty remains legendary. Resource management, unit production, and battlefield tactics must be perfectly balanced. Enemy AI is aggressive and unpredictable, often attacking when you're most vulnerable. Missions demand precise execution, and even minor mistakes can lead to overwhelming defeat. The game's fast-paced decision-making, combined with the need to anticipate enemy movements, creates a pressure cooker environment. Command & Conquer's fast-paced gameplay and strategic depth make it a true test of strategic prowess. 31. God Hand, 2006. If you're looking for a game that doesn't just challenge you but outright mocks you, God Hand is it. Released in 2006 by Clover Studio, this beat-em-up is notorious for its brutal difficulty and quirky humor. The game's adaptive difficulty system increases enemy aggression and skill the better you play, ensuring that even seasoned gamers stay on their toes. Combat is deep and customizable, with a variety of moves and combos to master. Enemies hit hard, and bosses require perfect timing and strategy. The game's unpredictable encounters and the constant need for quick reflexes and creative combos keep players on edge. God Hand's unapologetic difficulty and unique style have earned it a cult following and a reputation as one of the hardest games of its time. 30. Zelda, The Wand of Gamelon, 1993. Zelda, The Wand of Gamelon is infamous for its bizarre cutscenes, questionable controls, and strange take on the beloved Zelda universe. Released for the Philips CDI, it was part of a licensing deal between Nintendo and Philips, leading to some of the most criticized games in the Zelda franchise. Despite its negative reception, the game has achieved cult status, largely due to its unique and often mocked animated cutscenes and the sheer challenge it offers. The game's punishing difficulty stems from its awkward control scheme, relentless enemies, and unforgiving platforming sections. Players often struggle with hit detection and unresponsive attacks, making even basic encounters a test of patience. Add to that limited health, sparse save points, and confusing level design, and you have a recipe for frustration. Despite its flaws, The Wand of Gamelon does feature unique animated cutscenes and a distinctive art style that stands out in the Zelda franchise. The exploration-heavy gameplay captures some of the essence of classic Zelda games, and for those willing to endure the difficulty, there's a certain charm to uncovering its secrets. 29. Link, The Faces of Evil, 1993. Link, The Faces of Evil shares many of the same development and licensing issues as its counterpart, Zelda, The Wand of Gamelon. Released simultaneously for the Philips CDI, it has gained a reputation for its difficulty and unconventional design. Over the years, it has become a symbol of what can go wrong with outsourced game development, yet it remains a fascinating piece of gaming history. With awkward side-scrolling mechanics, poor hit detection, and limited lives, the game offers little room for error. The platforming is tricky, and enemies frequently swarm the player, making it difficult to advance without meticulous planning and perfect timing. The game's wide variety of levels and unique enemy designs add some appeal, and its quirky presentation has earned it a nostalgic following despite its punishing difficulty. 28. Mortal Kombat, 1992. A cornerstone of the fighting game genre, Mortal Kombat made waves with its graphic violence, unique characters, and revolutionary digitized graphics. Developed by Midway, the game became famous for its fatalities and intense one-on-one battles, establishing itself as a cultural phenomenon. Mortal Kombat's difficulty lies in its unforgiving AI, precise input demands, and brutal combo system. Higher-level opponents read player inputs, making them seem almost psychic in their ability to counter moves. Perfect timing for special attacks and finishing moves is essential, demanding mastery of each character's complex moveset. Mortal Kombat revolutionized fighting games with its unique characters, gore-filled fatalities, and fast-paced combat. Its memorable roster, iconic stages, and pulse-pounding soundtrack continue to make it a favorite in the fighting game community. 27. Mushroom Men Rise of the Fungi, 2008. This underrated action platformer for the Nintendo DS offers a quirky premise and challenging gameplay. Set in a world where sentient fungi battle for survival, the game features creative environments, an offbeat story, and a unique take on the platforming genre. Mushroom Men's difficulty comes from its demanding platforming, tough enemy AI, and limited health. The game's controls can feel imprecise, adding an extra layer of challenge. boss fights require careful strategy, quick reflexes, and a deep understanding of the game's mechanics. The game's creative world, unique character designs, and inventive weapons make it stand out, offering a visual and gameplay experience unlike any other. 26. Jurassic Park 1993 SNES release. The SNES version of Jurassic Park is an unexpectedly brutal survival experience. With no saves or passwords, players must complete the entire game in one sitting, a daunting task given its sprawling, labyrinthine levels. Enemies, including relentless velociraptors and spitting dilophosaurs, respawn constantly, ensuring no area is ever truly safe. Ammunition is scarce, forcing players to conserve resources while navigating dark maze-like interiors and claustrophobic first-person segments. The game provides no map, making exploration a frustrating trial and error process. Combined with cryptic objectives and punishing difficulty spikes, Jurassic Park is a prehistoric gauntlet that has tested players' patience for decades. 25. Shadow of the Colossus 2005. Shadow of the Colossus is more than just a game. It's an emotional odyssey wrapped in breathtaking landscapes and towering, awe-inspiring enemies. Developed by Team Ico, this PlayStation 2 masterpiece challenges players to take down 16 massive colossi, armed with nothing but a sword, a bow, and their wits. But don't be fooled by its minimalist approach. Every Colossus is a unique puzzle that demands precise timing, strategy, and patience. The game's hard mode ramps up the difficulty with tougher enemies, smaller weak points, and limited resources. What makes Shadow of the Colossus so brutal isn't just the fights. It's the pressure of figuring out each creature's weak spot while clinging desperately to a giant that's trying to shake you off. Every victory feels like an exhausting, hard-earned triumph, and every loss is a lesson in perseverance. This game is a testament to how simplicity and scale can create an unforgettable challenge, blending epic storytelling with relentless gameplay. The beauty of the world and the somber, minimalist soundtrack only heighten the emotional weight of every encounter, making every battle a mix of excitement and heartache. It's a game where strategy, patience, and courage are key, and only the most determined will succeed. 24. Hollow Knight 2017. Hollow Knight is the very definition of a modern classic, a Metroidvania game that perfectly balances exploration, combat, and atmosphere. Developed by Team Cherry, this indie gem plunges players into the hauntingly beautiful world of Hollow Nest, filled with dangerous enemies, intricate platforming, and secrets at every turn. What makes Hollow Knight truly difficult is its unforgiving combat system and relentless boss battles. The game requires precision, patience, and mastery of its tight controls. From the unpredictable attacks of the Mantis Lords to the sheer speed of the Radiants, every encounter feels like a dance of life and death. Add in the sprawling map and lack of handholding, and you have a game that rewards the brave and punishes the reckless. The game's atmospheric storytelling and intricate lore only add to the challenge, making every step forward feel both dangerous and rewarding. With every defeat you learn, and with every victory you feel an unmatched sense of accomplishment. The variety of enemies and the sheer number of abilities and charms you can equip add layers of strategy, forcing you to adapt your approach to every challenge. The difficulty is relentless, but the satisfaction of mastering the game's mechanics and uncovering its many secrets makes every struggle worth it. 23. Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy 2017. Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy is a brutal test of patience, skill, and sheer willpower. You control a man in a cauldron, using only a hammer to climb an unforgiving mountain of random objects. One wrong move, you plummet back down, sometimes losing hours of progress. There are no checkpoints, no safety nets, just an endless cycle of frustration and determination. Foddy's philosophical narration mocks and consoles you in equal measure, making failure feel even more personal. It's a game designed to break you, yet somehow, players keep coming back for more. Mastering it is a badge of honor. Quitting is a matter of sanity. 22. Doom Eternal 2020. Doom Eternal doesn't just raise the stakes, it obliterates them. On Ultra Nightmare difficulty, this first-person shooter becomes a relentless gauntlet of speed, strategy, and pure chaos. Developed by ID Software, Doom Eternal puts you in the shoes of the Doomslayer, humanity's last hope against a demonic invasion. The game's difficulty lies in its fast-paced combat and the sheer number of enemies on screen at any given time. Ultra Nightmare takes it a step further. One death, and it's game over. The pressure of staying alive while managing ammo, health, and armor in the middle of a battlefield is intense. Every encounter feels like a boss fight, and every mistake can be your last. The game demands lightning-fast reflexes, impeccable aim, and flawless strategy, making it one of the most intense and rewarding challenges in gaming. It's not just about shooting, it's about survival, and every second counts. The game's dynamic movement system and intricate weapon mechanics add another layer of complexity, requiring you to master every tool at your disposal. It's a heart-pounding, adrenaline-fueled ride from start to finish, and only the most skilled players will make it through. 21. God of War Ragnarok. God of War Ragnarok isn't just a visual spectacle, it's a test of patience, strategy, and skill. On the God of War difficulty, this action-adventure game by Santa Monica Studio transforms into a brutal trial. Enemies hit harder, react faster, and punish every misstep. Kratos and Atreus face an army of relentless foes, and even the simplest fights can turn deadly. Boss battles become grueling endurance matches where timing, dodging, and using every ability at your disposal become crucial. The game's emotional story and stunning environments make every victory feel earned, and every defeat a painful reminder of the difficulty you chose. Ragnarok demands that you master every weapon, every skill, and every strategy, pushing you to become the true God of War. The game's upgrade system and diverse enemy types force you to constantly adapt and refine your tactics. The weight of the story and the emotional stakes make every battle more intense, as you fight not just for survival, but for the fate of the realms. 20. The Last of Us Part 1 2022. Naughty Dog's The Last of Us Part 1 isn't just a game, it's an emotional journey through a post-apocalyptic world filled with danger, heartbreak, and survival. But if you really want to experience the most brutal version of this masterpiece, you have to play on the Grounded difficulty. And let me tell you, the difficulty name isn't just a catchy title. In Grounded mode, the game strips away almost every comfort you're used to. The Listen mode, gone. That handy little feature that lets you track enemies through walls, forget about it. Your HUD, barely there. You won't even know how much ammo you have left until you hear that dreaded click when your gun runs dry. Supplies are scarce. Every bullet, every health kit, every Molotov cocktail becomes a precious resource. But it's not just about scarcity, it's about danger. Enemies are smarter, fatter, and more lethal. One mistake can cost you everything. Those terrifying clickers, they become even more nightmarish when you realize that a single slip-up means instant death. And human enemies, they flank you, they strategize, and they show no mercy. Every encounter feels like a high-stakes chess match where you have to think 3 moves ahead just to survive. You'll find yourself crawling through the grass, holding your breath, hoping the enemy doesn't spot you. And when they do, because they will, you better be ready to fight for your life. Grounded mode transforms The Last of Us Part 1 from a survival game into a pure test of patience, strategy, and skill. Only the most tactical and persistent players will make it through. 19. Devil May Cry 5 2019. Difficulty level, Dante Must Die. Devil May Cry 5 is a game built on style and skill, but on the Dante Must Die difficulty, it's all about survival. This mode isn't just hard, it's relentless. Enemies don't just hit harder, they get their own devil triggers, making them faster, more powerful, and infinitely deadlier. You'll need to master every move in your arsenal, switching between weapons and styles on the fly, while perfectly timing dodges, parries, and counters. And if you think button mashing will get you through, think again. Even basic enemies become lethal threats in this mode. Miss a dodge and you'll get juggled like a ragdoll. Mistime an attack and you'll get punished. And then there are the bosses, pure unfiltered nightmares. They're faster, smarter, and way more aggressive. You'll need to learn their attack patterns down to the millisecond, because even the smallest mistake can cost you everything. But here's the thing. When you finally nail that perfect SSS combo, when you take down a boss without getting hit, the sense of satisfaction is unmatched. Dante Must Die mode isn't just about difficulty, it's about pushing yourself to become the ultimate demon hunter, and when you finally conquer this mode, you'll know you've earned it. 18. Flappy Bird 2013. It might seem out of place alongside these AAA titans, but don't underestimate Flappy Bird. This simple mobile game became a global phenomenon. And not just because of its addicting gameplay, it became infamous for its sheer, unrelenting difficulty. The premise is simple. Tap the screen to keep your awkwardly flapping bird in the air and navigate through a series of tight gaps between pipes. Sounds easy, right? Wrong. The physics are brutal, the timing is unforgiving, and the margin for error is practically non-existent. One wrong tap, you're dead. 1 second too late, game over. The pressure builds with every successful pass through the pipes, and the higher your score climbs, the more intense it gets. The frustration is out, but so is the addiction. Flappy Bird doesn't just challenge your reflexes, it tests your patience and your willpower. It's a game where every small victory feels monumental and every failure makes you want to try just one more time. It's simple, it's brutal, and it absolutely deserves its place on this list. 17. Lies of P, 2023. Imagine a dark, twisted version of the Pinocchio story, then throw in some of the most punishing gameplay you've ever experienced. Lies of P takes inspiration from games like Bloodborne and Dark Souls, but it carves out its own identity with a unique combat system and a haunting, atmospheric world. In Lies of P, there's no room for button mashing. Every enemy requires strategy. Every boss demands precision. Dodging and parrying aren't just helpful, they're essential. And if you're not perfectly timing your attacks, you'll pay the price. But what sets this game apart is its weapon customization system. You can mix and match weapon parts, creating tools tailored to your playstyle. But with great power comes great responsibility. Choosing the wrong build can make an already difficult game nearly impossible. And the bosses, oh, the bosses, they're relentless, unpredictable, and brutally powerful. You'll die a lot. But with every defeat comes a lesson, and with every lesson, you get just a little closer to victory. Lies of P isn't just a game, it's a gauntlet, and only the most determined players will see it through to the end. 16. Returnal, 2021. Housemarque's Returnal is a masterpiece of fast-paced bullet hell action and roguelike mechanics wrapped in a sci-fi horror story that keeps you on edge from start to finish. But it's also one of the most brutally difficult games of the modern era. Every time you die, and you will die, the world resets. Enemy placements change, item drops shift, and the only thing you carry forward is your knowledge and a few permanent upgrades. It's a constant battle to adapt and survive, with no safety net and no guarantees. The combat is intense, demanding split-second reflexes and perfect movement. You'll be dodging waves of projectiles while trying to land your own attacks, and the game never lets up. Even the smallest enemies can take you down if you're not careful. And the bosses are on an entirely different level. Some runs can last for hours, and knowing that one mistake could wipe out all that progress adds a layer of tension that's hard to describe. It's a game that demands your full attention and rewards your perseverance with one of the most satisfying gameplay experiences out there. 15. Ninja Gaiden series, 1988, present. When it comes to notoriously difficult games, the Ninja Gaiden series has earned its place at the top. From its early NES days to the modern reboots, this franchise has been synonymous with brutal difficulty and fast-paced technical gameplay. The original Ninja Gaiden games from the late 80s and early 90s were a masterclass in frustration. Their unforgiving platforming, relentless enemies, and harsh knockback mechanic meant that a single hit could send you plummeting into an instant death pit. Every jump needed perfect timing, and every enemy encounter required quick reflexes and strategy. It was common to replay entire levels just to get a little further. And let's not even start on the final boss fights, which pushed your skills to the absolute limit. The 2004 reboot, Ninja Gaiden Black, took things to an entirely new level. With its intricate combat system and ultra-aggressive enemies, the game demanded lightning-fast reflexes and perfect execution. Higher difficulty levels turned every fight into a life or death struggle, where even basic enemies could overwhelm you in seconds. Bosses were brutal, requiring pattern recognition and split-second timing to survive. The games never feel cheap. When you die, it's because you made a mistake, and the satisfaction of finally mastering the combat system and taking down a seemingly unbeatable boss is unparalleled. 14. Sifu 2021. Difficulty level. Master Kung Fu movies have long celebrated the journey of the martial artist, the endless training, the discipline, and the mastery of technique. Sifu captures that journey perfectly, blending brutal combat with a unique aging mechanic that makes every defeat sting a little more. On master difficulty, Sifu becomes an entirely different beast. Every fight is a brutal test of timing and strategy, where a single mistake can lead to your character aging years in seconds. As you grow older, you hit harder but lose health more quickly, and when you hit a certain age, death becomes permanent. The enemies are fast and relentless. They adapt to your strategies, forcing you to change tactics constantly. Boss fights feel like duels straight out of a martial arts epic, each one requiring complete mastery of dodging, parrying, and countering. What makes Sifu so rewarding is its sense of growth. Every loss teaches you something, and every victory feels like a true achievement. Mastering its combat system takes time and patience, But when you finally overcome a seemingly impossible fight, the feeling is incredible. 13. Cuphead, 2017. Cuphead is a game that combines stunning 1930s style animation with some of the most brutal gameplay ever created. Developed by Studio MDHR, this run-and-gun platformer is known for its relentless boss battles and unforgiving difficulty. Every enemy attack is meticulously timed and often unpredictable, requiring split-second reactions and perfect execution. Cuphead's charm lies in its beautifully hand-drawn visuals and jazzy soundtrack, but don't be fooled by its whimsical appearance. Beneath the vintage art style lies a game that demands precision, patience, and nerves of steel. Whether you're dodging bullet hell patterns or trying to memorize complex attack sequences, Cuphead offers a challenge that only the most dedicated players will overcome. The co-op mode adds another layer of chaos, making teamwork essential for survival. And while the difficulty is steep, the satisfaction of finally defeating a boss after countless attempts makes every moment of frustration worth it. 12. Dragon's Lair, 1983. In 1983, Dragon's Lair blew gamers' minds with its stunning hand-drawn animation. But beneath its beautiful exterior was a game designed to crush your spirit. Dragon's Lair is essentially one long series of quick-time events. You need to press the right button at the exact right moment, and if you're even a fraction of a second off, you die. The game gives you no room for hesitation or error, and with limited lives and no continues, every mistake carries weight. Mastering Dragon's Lair means memorizing every sequence and reacting with perfect timing. It's a trial and error experience that demands patience and precision. And even decades later, it remains one of the most challenging and iconic games ever made. 11. Battletoads and Battlemaniacs, 1993. The Battletoads franchise has long been synonymous with near impossible difficulty, and Battlemaniacs takes that reputation to new heights. This side-scrolling beat-em-up is packed with chaotic gameplay and unforgiving mechanics. The Turbo Tunnel level is infamous for its punishing difficulty. It requires pixel-perfect reflexes and split-second timing to dodge obstacles while speeding ahead. Miss one jump and it's back to the beginning, and that's just one of many brutal challenges the game throws your way. The combat is equally tough. Enemies hit hard and fast, and bosses require careful strategy and perfect execution. With limited continues and no room for error, every level feels like a battle for survival. Despite its difficulty, Battlemaniacs keeps you coming back. The challenge is addictive, and the satisfaction of finally beating a level after countless attempts is unmatched. 10. Battletoads, 2020. The 2020 Battletoads reboot stays true to the series' legacy of punishing difficulty. Mixing beat-em-up action, platforming, and puzzle solving, the game offers a relentless challenge that keeps you on your toes. Combat is fast-paced and chaotic. Enemies attack from all directions, and only perfect combos and well-timed dodges will keep you alive. Platforming sections demand precision, and boss fights require strategy and patience. Just when you think you've mastered one gameplay style, the game switches things up, forcing you to learn new mechanics on the fly. The steep learning curve ensures that the difficulty never lets up. 9. Ghosts and Goblins, 1985. Ghosts and Goblins isn't just one of the hardest games of the 1980s, it's one of the hardest games ever made. Released by Capcom in 1985, this side-scrolling platformer is legendary for its brutal difficulty and relentless enemy design. You play as Sir Arthur, a brave knight on a mission to rescue Princess Prin Prin from the evil demon king Astaroth. Sounds simple, right? Think again. From the moment you start, you're bombarded by an endless onslaught of zombies, demons, and flying enemies. The game's controls are stiff, your armor breaks after just one hit, and once you're down to your boxers, one more hit means instant death. Even after you somehow manage to beat the game's 7 grueling levels, the game sends you back to the beginning for an even harder second playthrough. Only after completing this second loop can you reach the true ending. It's the ultimate test of patience and skill, and one that many players never manage to conquer. It's Super Meat Boy 2010. If you want a game that tests your reflexes and your patience, Super Meat Boy is your worst nightmare and your greatest thrill. This indie platformer by Team Meat is known for its lightning-fast gameplay and pinpoint-precise controls. Each level is a maze of spinning saws, spikes, and instant death traps, demanding perfect timing and split-second decision-making. The game's brutal difficulty lies in its simplicity. There's no room for error. Dying is part of the learning process, and with no health bar and countless ways to fail, Super Meat Boy teaches you to embrace embrace failure and improve with every attempt. The game's fast respawn system keeps the pace relentless, and the satisfaction of finally nailing a perfect run after countless failures is unparalleled. It's a game that pushes you to your limits and keeps you coming back for more, driven by sheer determination and the pursuit of perfection. The difficulty ramps up with every world, introducing new mechanics and hazards that force you to stay sharp and adapt. Precision, timing, and patience become your greatest weapons as you navigate increasingly complex levels. And when you finally conquer a stage that seemed impossible, the sense of triumph is unmatched. 7. Elden Ring 2022. From the creators of the Dark Souls series comes an open-world game that takes the franchise's signature difficulty and expands it into a vast, sprawling world. Elden Ring isn't just one of the hardest games of 2022, it's one of the most ambitious, blending brutal combat with a rich, immersive world full of danger and discovery. As a tarnished warrior, your mission is to restore the Elden Ring and become the Elden Lord, but the journey is anything but easy. From the moment you step into the lands between, you're faced with enemies that can kill you in just a few hits. Every boss fight is a test of skill and strategy, with unique attack patterns and devastating abilities. 6. Dark Souls series 2011-2016. You can't talk about hard games without mentioning Dark Souls. This legendary series from Software redefined difficulty in modern gaming, creating a genre all its own with its punishing combat and intricate level design. In Dark Souls, every enemy encounter feels like life or death. Even the most basic foes can kill you if you're not careful, and the game's relentless bosses demand perfect timing and strategy. Death comes with a steep cost. You lose all your collected souls and must retrieve them without dying again. The game tells its story through environmental details and item descriptions, forcing players to piece together the lore on their own. It's a game that demands patience and perseverance, but for those who stick with it, the sense of accomplishment is unmatched. 5. Nioh 2017. If Dark Souls had a samurai cousin, it would be Nioh. This action RPG from Team Ninja takes the Soulsborne formula and adds its own twists, with fast-paced combat and a rich historical setting inspired by feudal Japan. In Nioh, you play as William, a Western samurai fighting against demons and warlords. The game's combat system is one of the most complex and rewarding in gaming, with multiple stances, weapon types, and special abilities. Mastering these mechanics is essential, as even regular enemies can kill you in just a few hits. The game's bosses are particularly brutal, with devastating attacks and unpredictable patterns, and just like Dark Souls, death comes with serious consequences. If you die without retrieving your spirit, you lose all your collected Amrita, the game's equivalent of experience points. It's a game that demands precision and patience, but for those who rise to the challenge, it's one of the most satisfying experiences in gaming. 4. Demon's Souls 2009. Before Dark Souls became a global phenomenon, there was Demon's Souls. Released in 2009 for the PlayStation 3, this game laid the foundation for the Soulsborne genre, introducing many of the mechanics and design elements that would become hallmarks of the series. In Demon's Souls, you play as a hero tasked with saving the kingdom of Boletaria from an ancient evil, but the game's haunting world is filled with danger at every turn. Enemies are relentless, traps are everywhere, and bosses are massive, terrifying, and unforgiving. One of the game's most unique features is its world tendency system, which changes the difficulty and enemy behavior based on your actions. The more you die, the darker and more dangerous the world becomes, adding an extra layer of challenge to an already brutal game. But for those who stick with it, Demon's Souls offers one of the most rewarding experiences in gaming. The feeling of finally defeating a tough boss after dozens of attempts is unmatched, and the game's atmosphere and storytelling are among the best in the genre. 3. Bloodborne 2015. When From Software released Bloodborne in 2015, they gave the gaming world something unforgettable. Set in the eerie, gothic city of Yaharnam, the game pulls you into a nightmarish world plagued by eldritch horrors and a deadly blood disease. Right from the start, you realize this isn't your average action RPG. Bloodborne demands aggression, strategy, and nerves of steel. One of the game's most brilliant features is its fast-paced combat. Unlike the more methodical pace of the Dark Souls series, Bloodborne encourages you to stay on the offensive. The rally mechanic, where you can regain lost health by striking back quickly after being hit, pushes you to take risks and stay aggressive. And those risks often lead to brutal punishment. The bosses in Bloodborne are where the game's difficulty truly shines. From the terrifying Father Gascoigne, and who sets the tone for just how unforgiving the game will be, To the nightmare-fueling Orphan of Kos, these encounters require absolute mastery of the game's mechanics. Dodging, timing, and precision are your only lifelines, and even then, victory is never guaranteed. But it's not just the combat that makes Bloodborne so hard. It's the atmosphere. The constant sense of dread, the cryptic storytelling, and the oppressive environments keep you on edge at all times. Every corner hides a new threat, and every victory feels hard-earned. 2. Sekiro. Shadows Die Twice. 2019, difficulty level Demon Bell, Charmless Run. If you thought Bloodborne was tough, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice takes things to a whole new level. Released in 2019, Sekiro swaps the dark fantasy of Yharnam for the brutal beauty of Sengoku-era Japan. You play as Wolf, a shinobi on a quest to rescue his kidnapped lord. And the journey is anything but easy. Unlike From Software's other games, Sekiro strips away traditional RPG elements like character classes and extensive weapon choices. Instead, it focuses entirely on skill-based combat. Every fight in Sekiro is a dance of swords, where one wrong move can end your life. The game's posture system forces you to stay aggressive while perfectly timing blocks and counters. There's no room for button mashing here. Only precision and patience will see you through. Then there's the game's notorious Demon Bell and Charmless Run modifiers. Activating the Demon Bell makes enemies hit harder and take less damage, while the Charmless Run removes your ability to regain health from perfect parries. Combined, these modifiers turn an already brutal game into an absolute nightmare. Boss fights in Sekiro are legendary for their intensity. These battles push your reflexes and strategy to their absolute limits. 1. Contra, 1987. Let's take it back to where controller throwing frustration began. Contra, released in 1987 for the NES, is the grandfather of hard games. A side-scrolling run-and-gun classic, Contra throws you into a relentless onslaught of enemies, bullets, and impossible platforming. And if you think modern games are tough, try beating Contra without the famous Konami code. It's a whole different level of pain. Contra's difficulty comes from its non-stop action and unforgiving mechanics. One hit means instant death, and with only a handful of lives, there's zero room for error. Every level is packed with enemies firing from all directions, tricky jumps, and environmental hazards. You need lightning-fast reflexes and perfect timing just to survive. The game's iconic boss fights are another highlight. From the alien invaders to the massive mechanical monstrosities, each boss tests your ability to dodge, shoot, and strategize on the fly. And with no health bars or clear indicators, every battle keeps you guessing and on edge. Despite its punishing difficulty, Contra remains beloved for its tight controls, co-op gameplay, and unforgettable action. It's a game that defined an era and set the standard for tough but fair gameplay. Even today, beating Contra without cheats is considered a badge of honor among gamers. These 70 games aren't just hard, they're legendary. Each demands patience, skill, and grit, but that's what makes victory so sweet. Which game pushed you the hardest? Share your thoughts and don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.